It's still the City of Lagos TV show. In order to give the public a deep insight into the sight and sound of the just concluded 4th Lagos International Water Conference, tagged Liwac 2023, proudly organized by the Lagos State Water Regulatory Commission, held at Eco Hotel and Suites, Victoria Island, Lagos, on the 5th and 6th of July 2023. The City of Lagos TV show now brings you a very fundamental aspect of that conference, talking about the very informative and of course revealing special keynote address by some special keynote speakers at the conference. On the show reel are some highly professional and top-flight international speakers, the speech presented by the Executive Secretary of the Lagos State Water Regulatory Commission, Funke Adepoju, and a very informative speech delivered by the Lagos State Deputy Governor, Dr. Obafemi Kadri Amzat, ably representing the Governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu.
It is a delight that I welcome you all to the 2023 Lagos International Water Conference, tagged Liwac 2023. This is the 4th edition in the series of Liwac gatherings designed to interface Lagos State policymakers with the global water and sanitation sector to explore opportunities for growth in knowledge, understanding, and investments. The first 2 editions have focused on the role of regulation in fostering performance and investment in water supply infrastructure, accountability, and coordination. We are happy to report some gains from the previous conferences. First among which is the selection of Lagos State as one of the 2 intervention states by Water Aid Nigeria in their 2023 to 2027 Water Aid strategy for the country. Already, Water Aid is implementing various WASH programs in Lagos community, as well as providing institutional support to the Water Regulatory Commission, valued at well over 80 million naira in the last 3 years. The commencement of the $50 million Lagos Open Wash project under an MOU signed with the United States Agency for International Development, USA, was as a result of the second Liwac conference. Liwac is designed to enhance urban water service delivery in Lagos State by improving infrastructure and accountability, as well as strengthening the financial and technical capacities of the Lagos State water utilities and private water vendors. This year, we are happy to present a 2-day conference on sanitation under the big Accelerating Sanitation and Hygiene in the Lagos City through regulation and innovation. Our goal is to highlight and unravel the dimensions and intricacies of the challenges of sanitation delivery in Lagos, the fastest growing mega city in Africa, with almost 40% of Lagosians not having access to the same toilets. To understand how effective regulation and innovation can play an active role in addressing this challenge, we are therefore excited at the response that has been received from our donor and development community since we unveiled the sanitation team. They see the future we see and are as excited at the possibilities and opportunities for investments that grant and seed funding for sanitation can trigger. We appreciate the African Development Bank, the International Water Association, for their ongoing technical support and interest in the sanitation sector of Lagos State. We cannot adequately thank those that have joined us for this conference from Argentina, from Burkina Faso, from Zambia, from Kenya, from Uganda. And also, I'd like to welcome, most especially, the Permanent Secretary of the Federal Ministry of Water Resources for playing the big sister role to women in the water sector in Nigeria and to Lagos State in Nigeria. Like only going to is to ask for more. We have a rare opportunity to have in our midst global leaders from all across the world. And I'm sure that at the end of the day, we can compare with similar mega cities like Argentina, small cities like Kumasi, Nairobi, Kampala, and Dakar, to mention a few, where fecal storage management has been tested to be working right. The leadership of the Global Fecal Storage Management Alliance and citywide inclusive sanitation, as well as the containerized sanitation communities represented here today by Ghana, and we also have representatives from over 16 states in the room, national and regional executive legislative and judicial arms of government, as well as regulatory bodies, especially that of Argentina, who is also one of the mega cities. We're working together on the Mega Cities Alliance for Water and Climate, and we hope to take away lessons from how you run it in Argentina. The greater city of Paris will also be joining us before the end of today. This program, as we have put it together, we hope that will deliver benefits to Lagos State. Mr. Governor, Mr. Onitsha, I must at this junction thank you for the support to the water and sanitation sector in Lagos State. And like we asked for the Federal Ministry of Resources, we will keep coming, sir. And I'm happy that the Deputy Governor is here present. The whole idea is to see how regulation can assist us in improving service delivery and performance standards so that everybody can have water. Thank you very much. We welcome you and thank you for being here. We expect and wish you nice celebration during Liwac 2023. Thank you very much.
This conference serves as a platform for exchanging ideas, best practices, and innovation to ensure water, sanitation, and hygiene for all in the vibrant Lagos, the center of excellence and mega city. First and foremost, I would like to thank Your Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Sanwo-Olu, for the work the state government is doing in the water sector. I extend my deepest gratitude to the government of Lagos State and all the supporting organizations for their unwavering support in hosting this event. Your commitment, Your Excellency, to promoting sustainable development, environmental stewardship, and well-being of your citizens sets a commendable example for other states to follow. I also wish to thank the organizers, the Lagos State Water Regulatory Commission, for inviting me as an honored guest. The invitation provides further evidence that resolving the challenges in the water sector and sanitation and hygiene subsectors requires the partnership of the three levels of government and the private sector because of the cross-cutting nature of the subject and the resource requirements. It is against this background that we appreciate this invitation and the participation of the Federal Ministry of Water Resources. I can let you know that the National Coordinator for the Use the Toilet Clean Nigeria campaign is also a participant in this conference, as well as other staff of the ministry. I must also congratulate the organizers for their exceptional efforts in bringing together professionals, experts, and stakeholders from across the globe to discuss and address the pressing challenges of the sanitation and hygiene subsector regarding water resources, management, and sustainability. Your unwavering dedication to fostering dialogue, knowledge sharing, and collaboration in water, sanitation, and hygiene is commendable. Water, sanitation, and hygiene are essential pillars for any community's overall well-being and development, as we must have noticed in the video, the documentary we watched. As Lagos continues to experience rapid growth and urbanization, concerted efforts must be made to address the challenges posed by increasing demand for clean water and proper sanitation infrastructure. The theme for Liwac 2023, Accelerating Sanitation and Hygiene for All in Lagos Megacity through Regulation and Innovation, encapsulates the crucial elements needed to achieve sustainable and inclusive water management in the city. The theme also aligns with the national aspiration of achieving universal access to sustainable water, sanitation, and hygiene that is washed, services in the country in line with the Sustainable Development Goal 6. We applaud the organizers for their foresight in selecting such a pertinent topic, as it highlights the significance of both regulatory frameworks and innovative approaches in addressing the water-related challenges faced by Lagos. The Federal Ministry of Water Resources is particularly pleased to be part of this all-important conference for the following reasons. First, it addresses a significant concern of the federal government about the low commitment and non-prioritization of water, sanitation, and hygiene issues by sub-national governments. Second, it aligns with the ministry's integrated water resources management agency's regulatory role and provisions in the Water Resources Bill, which we hope will be passed by the 10th National Assembly. Water resources issues, including a proposed national wash fund that states can access. Lagos has demonstrated commendable progress in the water sector, with notable achievements in infrastructure development, policy formulation, and innovative solutions. However, we recognize that there is still work to be done, particularly in ensuring that every individual in the megacity has access to safe water and adequate sanitation facilities. It is a concern that access to sanitation and hygiene services usually needs to catch up with access to water supply at national and global levels. According to the 2021 WASH Norm report of the ministry, access to essential water supply, sanitation, and hygiene services in Nigeria was estimated at 67%, 46%, and 17% respectively. WASH services have been established as fundamental for economic and social development. Being a cross-cutting issue, it also impacts different sectors, including health, education, and the economy. Achieving the WASH targets under SDG 6 in Nigeria is therefore critical. Given the country's strategic position, it will contribute to our development goals as a nation and will have a significant impact at the regional and global levels. This will require reforms in regulation and the use of innovation, which this conference focuses on. I wish to reiterate that the multifaceted interventions of the federal government over the years have been motivated by our desire to ensure that implementing policies and programs contribute to closing the identified gaps, improving access to services, and demonstrating the government's commitment and prioritization of WASH. These interventions, which the Federal Ministry of Water Resources leads towards improving access to sustainable water, sanitation, and hygiene services in the country, include 1, the development of the National Action Plan for the revitalization of the water sector, a presidential declaration of a state of emergency on the sector, the Partnership for Expanded Water and Sanitation Program, PWASH, institutionalization of the WASH National Routine Outcome Mapping, WASH Norm, the Clean Nigeria Use the Toilet campaign, the Presidential Executive Borderline, the Sustainable Urban and Rural Wash Project, and development of a roadmap for hand hygiene for all, amongst others. Recently, we have reinforced these initiatives by developing a national WASH policy, for which a multi-stakeholder oversight committee has been inaugurated. Moreover, we have signed memoranda of understanding for the commencement of school wash, health wash, and youth wash programs in collaboration with the relevant ministries. These high-level initiatives further demonstrate the strong political will of the federal government in reversing the narrative on Nigeria's poor wash indices and accelerating access to sustainable services in our institutions and public places. We believe that partnerships, collaboration, and knowledge sharing among stakeholders are vital in overcoming the existing gaps and challenges. Liwac catalyzes such collaborations, facilitates dialogue, and promotes exchanging ideas and experiences. This conference indeed provides a platform for policymakers, industry experts, researchers, and innovators to engage in meaningful conversations, share their insights and best practices, and develop innovative solutions to pave the way towards a more sustainable future for water sanitation and hygiene programs, especially in megacities such as Lagos. By harnessing the collective expertise and experiences present at this conference, we can develop strategies and action plans that will propel Lagos towards achieving the goal of sanitation and hygiene for all. Against this background, I appreciate the distinguished speakers and experts who graciously accepted the invitation to share their knowledge, experiences, and insights. Your expertise and dedication are instrumental in shaping policies, practices, and technologies to help us overcome our sanitation and hygiene subsector challenges. Your contributions will undoubtedly inspire and empower us to take concrete steps towards ensuring equitable access to clean water for future generations. Thank you.
Less than 90% of waste is treated before it's dumped in the environment in sub-Saharan Africa. 90%. We all know what this looks like. We see it daily in places where we live. Luckily, there's a lot of things being done for that. Many people are trying to build treatment plants to help treat that waste before it's dumped. For instance, this is a new treatment plant that was built in 2019 near where I live. It's known as a decentralized treatment facility, sometimes called a DCF or a DY. They're designed to be low capital costs, low operational cost treatment methods. It kind of acts like a landfill does for municipal waste, but designed for fecal sludge. And this is a picture I took yesterday, or just before I came. That's what it looks like now. As you can tell, it is not operating properly. And in fact, this facility has not operated one day since it was built in 2019. Why? Next slide. There's a great study done by WaterAid, I'll give credit, that showed that the majority of treatment plants in low and middle income areas are not operational. And a follow-up study by World Bank really looked at a lot of times we focus on capital costs, but we don't necessarily look on the service provision, specifically the operational context. And that treatment plant, while it is low cost, does not make it no cost. And many governments don't necessarily have the line item in their budget to continually pay for that. Next slide, please. And so in this top left graph, I've done some, we'll call them simulation models, not exact. But the top left graph there shows kind of what the cost would look like in one of these standard treatment plants. It is a regular cost year over year for the lifetime of the plant. I've only built out 4 years here, but imagine that over 10, 15 years. That is constant cost. Again, a lot of times, governments not only don't have those funds, there's no incentive for whoever is operating this treatment plant to do that well. In fact, they're actually incentivized to treat less waste. Because if you treat less waste, you spend less money. And I believe a lot in incentives. And if you can give people the right incentive, it's going to help so much with behavior change. So on the right there, I've posted some of the most common waste to value mechanisms that we've seen popping up. Now there are many more, and more coming every day thanks to great research. But in the top left there, you'll see here, this is what we're doing a lot of in Kenya, and I brought some examples. We're actually taking human waste, using the natural carbon in it and that calorific value to make a sustainable fuel that replaces firewood, or we can do a charcoal bottle. You can also bottle the natural gases that come off human waste as it breaks down to methane and make a biogas. Great companies like Saki-san in Ghana are doing this at a large scale. And in the top right, you'll see compost. You're using that organic matter, breaking it down, making a great compost or soil amendment. In the bottom right, more and more groups like Sanergy are doing animal feed production. So using black soldier fly larvae. All these instances are, instead of focusing on how do we not only just treat waste and then make it safe enough to dump, let's actually harness the resources that are in human waste to actually make an incentive for the treatment plant operator. And so what that kind of looks like in this bottom of the graph here is that you'll actually see the operational costs on these waste to value treatment plants are much more than a non-waste to value facility. And that's a hard thing for people to understand. Your inputs, your energy, your people, all of these will be higher to do a waste to value. But the difference is kind of what those green bars show, is that you'll actually start now getting revenue. And that revenue will help offset those costs of operational. Now, what is that amount of revenue that we can make, and what is that margin? I'll only give you the answer of it depends. The most important, from a financial standpoint, is reduced operational costs. Right? This is so important to utilities, to government partners, who for now it is just a continual cost sink. If we can just reduce that value, there's so many benefits. It's incentivized treatment. I'm talking about incentives. As an operator, now the more waste I treat and transform, the more money I make. That makes me really excited to be the operator. That makes me really excited to operate this facility well. Waste reuse. Not only just fecal sludge, but in our facilities we use industrial waste. We use agricultural waste. All these different ways that can be involved in this waste value process. Emissions. There was a recent study out of Kampala that showed 70% of the entire Kampala city's greenhouse gas emissions come from poor waste management. There is so much potential to be improved by, instead of having traditional waste breakdown, to actually do a waste value. Forests, obviously, if you're making a sustainable fuel like we are, whether it's biogas or solid fuels, we're actually saving deforestation. Job creation. Many government people in the room, this is one of the main things that I hear is a great push. When you do waste to value, we employ a lot of people, which is a wonderful advantage. Next slide. But I want to zoom out a bit because I'm always worried when I present the benefits of waste to value in the private sector approach that people think we can solve the whole problem. And I'm sorry to tell you, we have not figured that out yet. There are a lot of other costs that come before the operational costs. Again, this is just an example. We have project development costs, whether that's securing land, whether that's doing the feasibility studies, doing the concept design. Then there's actually the construction costs. These costs combined, to date, have been too expensive that I've seen the private sector be paid back by itself. And that is why it's so important, as just mentioned, to have that blended financing. So if you go to the next slide, I'll present it in a clear way. Let's assume this is the entire cost of delivering safe sanitation, that top green bar there. It's a lot of cost it's put on the government to figure out. I am glad to present to you that resource recovery can cover a large amount of that. You can. There are other ways you can also support it. Next one. Private sector is really good at efficiency, whether that's through scaling or just bringing in our learnings from running a for-profit company. We can actually reduce the cost just from efficiencies. Then, since we partner with the government, we can do things. Go ahead. User fees, cross-subsidies can come in and help pay some of those costs. But there still remains, next one, a funding gap. And this is where we can work together with, next slide, the public funding. And so when I think blended financing, this is what I'm thinking about. There's a lot of different players, a lot of different stakeholders that need to come together to figure this out. Let's go next slide. This is where Cenovation comes in. So this is my company, we're based in Kenya. We have designed ourselves to be a partner for local governments in designing sustainable sanitation solutions. Specifically, we're looking at market-based approaches combined with how can we help the utility, the local government, find other funding sources as well. And so we want to come hand in hand. Specifically, we've been looking at the energy sector, which has done this very well. In Kenya, the access to energy went from less than 20% to over 90% in 25 years. That is a lot the sanitation sector can run from, right? That amount of scale. And so we're taking those innovative blended financing models, partnering with the government and helping them figure it out together. I'm going to give you a couple examples of what's been working well in Kenya now. Let's jump to the next slide. Anybody been to Malindi in Kenya, or you know of it? It is a beautiful coastal line. Most of Kenya has incredible beaches. The sad part is that there's only one treatment plant on the entire coast of Kenya. So next slide. This is what the dumping site, where both fecal sludge and municipal waste goes to. This is less than 2 kilometers from that beautiful beach picture before. It is a problem. So we partnered with the utility there. This is how at least Kenya is set up. We partnered with the utility, set up a joint development agreement that together we're going to figure this out. We worked with them to do feasibility studies and concept designs to create a waste value treatment plant. Then we even supported them on securing $7 million in World Bank financing to build this. I'm really excited to say that construction officially started on this facility last week. So this is new and very exciting. There are 2 different treatment plants going in. Like I said, capital costs about $7 million. And the way this is going to work is it's going to take in fecal sludge from exhaust trucks and then pit empty. It's going to take in secondary biomass such as coconut husks and sawdust. It's going to take those together, combine it, treat it, and create these briquettes, which are now sold to industrial boilers down the coast. So specifically, Kenya coast has a lot of edible oil. And so we're replacing unsustainable firewood with now sustainable fuel made from human waste and selling it to these institutions. So I'll give some of the impacts in this specific scenario. Again, it changes. But we're actually forecasting 18% profit margin on that facility in Malindi. We hope to be the operators. It'll treat about 4,000 tons a month. It'll take in 1,000 tons beyond fecal sludge of other types of waste, industrial waste and agricultural waste. Over its lifespan of 15 years, it'll have over 400,000 metric tons equivalent of carbon emissions savings, which is really exciting. Save about 3.5 million trees, and as I said, very exciting, create over 400 jobs. This waste to value blended finance approach is working there in Malindi. I'll give another example. We've seen, even though that capital cost of those was $7 million, which seems like a lot, but to access these large DFI fundings, like African Development Bank, it's oftentimes not enough. So now what we're going to do, go to the next slide, is we're taking what I call a portfolio approach, where we're actually looking at 3 different cities across Kenya that all need treatment plants. We've partnered with all 3 of those cities through the utilities, and we've gone through the engagement of signing these JDAs. We've gone through the feasibility, where we've actually designed these concept notes. And now we're actively working together to try and secure that funding of a full 18, I'll give that a second. Secure the funding as one portfolio approach. This makes it easier for large development banks to be able to fund it rather than one-offs. And so next slide. The full life cycle cost for this plant is for these 3 different facilities is $25 million. In our concept designs, we showed that the market-based approach, private sector, can provide about 35% of that, which is great, 35% reduction, but there's still those other costs. We see those other costs coming in-kind donation from local governments, such as land or support in permitting, and then large amounts of funding coming from, some of the slides got off a little bit. But we're starting to use, I won't go through all the details, but again, this more complex financing of money from the energy sector. of how does the development banks help fund the national ministry, then it gets broken down between utilities that can then fund the private operator. And maybe that's sort of 10, 20-year concession. And so we might also have to bring in finance institutions to fund the actual cash flows. This is complex, even for me, I'm an engineer. We're trying to figure this out, and it might look a little bit different in Nigeria. Next slide. But it's working, which I think is the best thing I want you to tell. We've had over 30 projects in Kenya, not just in treatment plants. We've done toilets, we've done waste collection, we've done master planning. And what I'm excited to say is we're very excited to extend beyond Kenya. And in fact, Nigeria is already in one of our top 5 target countries that we want to come to. And so I hope that these learnings kind of help. I hope that we engage in some conversations today. I'm very excited to say the private sector wants to be involved, that waste to value solutions can help. And I'll leave you with 3 key takeaways to think about in our discussions. 1, let's think about market-based solutions. There's a lot of great ideas. This is what I'd like to do. 2, let's get creative on how we can get that blended finance and financing structures for the CapEx. So happy that a lot of different funders are based here over today and tomorrow. Let's have those conversations. And 3, I want to encourage everyone, make sure you start with quality feasibility studies. As I mentioned, some of our situations have shown great net margins. Some places, we haven't been able to get any positive margin. We are still reducing the operational costs, but it very much depends on the context. And quality feasibility studies will help you get those bankable projects. So thank you to everyone for joining me here. I hope you learned something from Kenya. I look forward to conversations.
I'm so happy to be here. I can see, of course, first time in Nigeria too. And it's really an honor to be here. I really want to say thank you to the organization inviting me, especially because I'm going to be at the brochure. And it's a pleasure to share with you the experience in Buenos Aires and the regulator. And as a member of the Megacity Alliance for Water and Climate, we are regulators and other, the next piece, we are in the 16 mega cities around the world that we share in common. There be so many people living in a very small area. So it's very interesting to develop this mega city alliance as a platform to exchange to share our experience. So another thing important from this alliance is that we're thinking like a network of existing networks. Because all of us, for example, I'm a regulator, but there are political leaders, they have the networks, they have the scientists network, and we have also the NGO, and we have the operations, and all of us have our own sector network, and the idea is to get all together, because as we know, everybody, the water resources, we need to integrate it all. So it's supported by the French Association AXO and ESO and among others. So now, let's allow me to Buenos Aires experience. The idea is to explore a little bit about which are the challenges involved in the water service provision, especially to low-income neighborhoods. And I think when I want to talk now to low-income neighborhoods or maybe vulnerable neighborhoods, I'm talking what are informalization, times, slums, and informal settlement. That is one of the biggest problems we have in the megacities in the third world. And we have this challenge between the formal city and the informal city. We have the increased growth in population increasing so quickly. So we want to present two innovative actions and to identify the success factors too. Well, just to know a little bit more about Buenos Aires, it's in Argentina, South America. And we are it's a capital city with 26 municipalities and an area of 3,030 square kilometers, where almost 15 million people live. It's a third of the country lives in Buenos Aires. And we have covered, so the water coverage is 75%, 5%, 65 for sewage, and treatment is our lowest percentage with just 22. So we want to achieve the SDG 6. We need also to do a lot of treatment because at least at the moment in Buenos Aires there is no, all the non-sewers or the solution, like for example the on-site sanitation, are not regulated. And so we are just with the goal to be all network sanitation. There is a unique, come back please. And a unique provider that is called ISA, Aguas y Alimentos Argentinos. There is a water and sanitation provider in all the area, and it's a national company. And then we have a regulator and planning body that is the two institutional entities to complete the water sector. Yes, go forward now. Thank you. Well, the Stockholm neighborhoods in Buenos Aires, it's estimated that 42% of the people is poor, so they live in this kind of vulnerable neighborhoods. There are more than 1,000, and people living there is 1/3 of the whole population of Buenos Aires. So it's a really important matter for the regulator, and also for the water sector authorities. And as I said before, there was a 60% coverage in the formal. When we're going to this neighborhood, there's falling down to 6 only. So, and also as you can see in the map, when in the where this neighborhood are in the very, very high risk area from sanitation, for flood, for example. And then you have there are like poor people living overcrowded in a very housing precarious condition, and also in an environment condition that is the most risky one. Because it's so big difference and it has an unequal access for the wash services in the formal and informal city, we saw that in the informal city some of the problems is irregular land tenure, is that these people they don't have the property rights of their plots, and then the provider will say I can expand to these neighborhoods because it's one way to convalidate the occupation of this land. So there is a legal problem related to this. And the other thing, another problem was the irregular urban fabric. It's like, of course, there is no planning houses in this kind of neighborhood, and then you don't have the streets and the minimum width to go to the tracks. There are also high level of insecurity, and then the problem is that workers don't want to carry out their works there, and especially the problem maybe when there is expansion. But the worst is going when you have to go to maintenance or operational maintenance because the workers don't feel safe to go there. So it's an important barrier also. And there is a lack of economic incentive for the provider because, as you can imagine, these people won't be able to afford the full tariff. So there is a lack of incentives. One of the nice solutions we have, it was since 2004, almost 20 years ago, and we have this program that is water plus work, or sewage plus work, where local cooperatives extend the secondary supply networks to these neighborhoods with high social and sanitary vulnerability. Well, one of the things here that it was after a big economic and social crisis in Argentina, and employment rates were very, very high. So there was also a good way to create jobs, as you say, and beautiful. And then the local government had a lot to do, and they designed a work-building expansion. The neighborhoods was the neighbors established a cooperative with principally unemployed people, and then start to be working. And the service provider has played a very key important role to be the technical assistance and also to give the materials. And of course, the regulator controls all the process and also also gave a special charge to this new user who will be connected with this program. And there is external funding, especially at the beginning was from the national government, and after the present is, for example, for the International Development Bank. Another one. Another program was the Vulnerable Neighborhoods Program that wants to overcome the barriers regarding the irregular tender plan and irregular human fabric. And then some years ago, the national government carried out a survey to know where and how many neighborhoods were in the different area. And this established a register, national register, and then now the people living there can ask for the family housing certificate, and then this is a proof of the existence of a validity of an address, and then they can use it to request to a public service. So there was a way to all this problem regarding the property lands and the extension, and this legal problem was a way to solve this kind of matters. And also there was a technical flexibilization. There was the planning body passed a new resolution where they approved new criteria for sanitation extension, especially for this kind of neighborhoods related. Well, those, as I said, for the street, maybe there is not recognized that there is a public street and it's just enough. The 4 meter will be enough to go to trunk and make extension. I think that, when we had to identify some of the success factors, technical and social support from UNSA, that is the provider, was very, very important. Also, the training to be cooperative, because as I said, there was unemployed people working there without very experience in sanitation. So I think both were very important. And also that there will be a gradual expansion to learn from other experience. When, as I said, this program now is had a lot of cooperatives working, but they started with just one cooperative in one neighborhood, and it was step by step growing, and now, and after going also to sanitation, and now also doing some other objectives, for example, connecting the unconnected people and internal pipes. So also have demonstrated an ability to adapt to the new context. And in 20 years, we have a lot of changes, especially, for example, the provider. Before 2006, it was a private company, now it's a national company, and fortunately this program goes on. The same happened for the funding sources. We changed several times, but fortunately we have every time a new association or interest to be funding this. Also, they changed a lot of the criteria for the members of the cooperative. As I said, at the beginning, it was unemployed people, must be employed people. Now it could be, there is no more this criteria. And for example, last year, we started to have a new one, that is the gender equity. So at least half of the members of the cooperative.
In the eyes of the policymaker, in the eyes of the operator, and of course in the eyes of the customer himself. Ladies and gentlemen, 3 years ago I was here, and I told the same deputy governor that water makes money. Water makes money. The water business is a very profitable business across the globe. The global water business is a huge growing market of over $20 billion US. And it's growing at the rate of 20% per annum. In actual fact, the global water and sanitation market is projected to be around $500 billion US in the next 10 years. That means there's a lot of money today. The problem we have at the moment is that we in Africa are not taking advantage. If you go to the European water market, the size of the market in Europe is about 130 billion US dollars. In America, it's about 134 billion US dollars. In Asia, according to the Asian Development Bank, the size of the water market is about 300 to 400 billion US dollars. In Africa, it's only about 50 billion US dollars. There's a lot to be done. But why are we still not exploiting that? First of all, it all starts with the low tariffs and the low corrections. Then it goes to the consumers using water inefficiently. And what happens? There's a high usage of water, high systems costs, which leads to service deteriorating. What happens? When the service deteriorates, it means the customers are not willing to pay. If they are not willing to pay, then the state must come in and pay the subsidies. Now, when the managers start getting subsidies, they lose their autonomy. They lose the incentive to work. And what happens again? The efficiency continues dropping and dropping. And in the end, you have also the subsidies not materializing because the state cannot continue paying for what they are not seeing. And in the end, of course, even the subsidies are not enough to pay for the taxes and pay for the wages and the kind costs. The motivation continues deteriorating and the systems go down the drain. A huge crisis. Now what happens? Most of our utilities in the developing world are like this. No service coverage. If you are lucky and you get your water for 2 or 10 hours per day, then you thank God. On top of that, if you enter any of the utilities, you'll find people who are like unemployed. 30, 50 employees per 1,000 connections. You can imagine. Sometimes you enter an industry, you enter an office, you are not sure whether you're in the market or whether you are doing any other business. Low operating efficiency, now revenue water. The water will lose today in most of our utilities, especially in the local world, is in the range of 50 to 70%. Now, you are only losing 50% of what you are producing, and you are collecting only 40% of what you are giving. So you can imagine the overall collection efficiency, the overall efficiency of the system is about maybe 20%. And that is coupled with the poor incentive structure. Most of our institutions do not pay well. I want to compare what the banks pay, what the other institutions pay, what our water industry pays. If you take the MD, for example, Lagos Water, how much does he earn? Compare him with the MD of Standard Bank. How much do they earn? Of course, you cannot expect if you pay peanuts, you'll get also peanuts. None of you have seen this slide. This is what confronted me 20 years ago when I was appointed MD, National Water Trade Corporation Uganda. What do you think that is? What do you think this could be? Is it a bar? Is it a restaurant? This was the reception. On the first day I reported, I still remember on the 18th of November 1998, at 9 o'clock, I came in, that's what I thought. The man you see out there was the chief receptionist, 9 o'clock, completely drunk. All these people you see here were waiting for their salaries, they were not being paid for the last 6 months. So they would come every day with the hope that maybe a year would be appointed and they would get the salary. Now, when they saw me, young as I was, little bit of the beard, they thought I was an intruder. So this man asked me, what is it you want? I said, I've been appointed here, and he said, I'm going to call the police if you don't know where you are. We have not been told that the MD is coming. You can imagine. It took me 5 minutes to convince him that I was the MD. Next slide. Welcome to where now. 10 years after I left National Water, I was requested by the World Bank to carry out the project in India. Now, what do you think that building on the right side is? What could it be? Could it be a factory? Could it be a garage? What could it be? And That's the waterworks. And on the left side here, the manager was proud, showing his love, and when he opened the fridge, food fell down. And instead of storing chemicals, he was storing food. So what type of issue that I was talking about? If you are confronted with a situation like this, what do you do? Is it because of poor leadership that our situation cannot be rectified? Is it because of poor management that we don't have managers who can really rectify the situation? Or is it because of poor governance and accountability? That we are not able to account for what we get, we are not able to put in place what we should be doing. Four, or is it because of our attitude? We are Nigerians, we are Africans, so what can happen? If they don't get water, well, it's their problem. Or is it because of the external interference? Here they may actually exist because the politicians are failing the business, or the other way around. Or is it because we don't have enough finance? Next, I put this question for my audience in Berlin, and these are the answers I got. The donors were concerned, and for them, it was not the external interference, it was either the efficiency of the industry. It was not the attitude of the staff, because they thought that when they saw me, they said, no, we think it's not your attitude, this is a problem. It was not the poor management, it was not the leadership, but for them they thought it is governance and accountability that was making the sector not tick. Because they were saying, we pump a lot of money in Africa. We do a lot of projects in Africa, but we don't see what happens. So we think that your governance is very poor. I thought, in other words, you were telling me that we actually very corrupt. So I did not believe it. So I went to I came to Africa, next slide. And I put the same question, and I think that was in 2020, before a sanitation dialogue in Abuja, before a team of high commissioners, high level government officials, that was in Abuja. And I got the same answer. They said, no, as far as this is concerned, we are good leaders. As far as management is concerned, we don't have to worry. But the problem, again, is poor governance and accountability. So we ourselves, we are saying, we are not able to manage our own systems. So, if you are confronted with something like this, what do you do? Next slide. I think I've been messed up. It's another piece of part, no. Okay, so now the question is governance. What is governance? Governance refers to processes, structures, and mechanisms through which decisions are not only made, but are also implemented and also monitored, with a view of making sure that management of the provision of constitutional services is properly done. Next, what are the four critical issues in governance? One, overlapping roles and mandates of different institutions. Sometimes you have the regulator, then you have the operator, then you have the ministry, then you have the advisors, and nobody knows exactly what to do. Two, bottlenecks in procurement. In those days when you were young, they would ask you, what course do you actually want to do? Many of us would say, I want to go for medicine, others engineering, others law. And you see the bright people wanting to go for those very, very good courses. But today when you ask these young guys, they tell you they want to go for logistical procurement. So they have turned this course called procurement to the logistical whatever it is. Because they see those who are working in procurement are the ones now who are showing force, and ones who buy the cars, and ones who buy houses. So now people have turned from those courses which we used to do in the past, they are going for procurement. So I am warning you, procurement is a big, big problem in our sector. Number three, inefficient human resources provide the technical and strategic guidance needed. Again, I was in one of the states here in Nigeria, and the governor called me to present to him what he thought, or what he wanted to know about the problems that are affecting the water sector down there. And I went with 6 people, the top managers of the company, and I said, look, can they introduce themselves and also talk about the age? Out of the 6, 4 were above the age of 58. So in 2 years, they're all going to retire. So I told you, if they're not careful, Mr. Governor, you have an institution in 2 years with nobody to run it. There have been so-called employment stop. I hope Mr. Deputy Governor will have stopped that one. Because if we don't, our institutions are dying because we don't have enough capacity in terms of young human resources management. Number 4, and number 5, I think for me the most important, we are appointing boards of directors. We are appointing water committee users. Water committee boards. And we are not giving them the authority to run those boards. Not sure what sometimes the boards we put in place are made up of maybe political cronies, people who have not been able to make it in the politics, and because they are a friend of I don't know who, they come on the board. And sometimes they have been in politics and they have failed to make it, and they have spent a lot of money. And if you put someone like that on the board, what do you expect him to do? Because you first of all recover the money, and then the institution will be a separate. Next slide. Yes, that's what we call good governance and bad governance. Good governance is the rule of law, transparency, participation of all the stakeholders, and accountability is very, very important. Bad governance is what we see here. Next slide. When I came to National Water, I was told by my minister that I was going to be in charge. But I knew, because of the interferences, because of not knowing exactly what is to be done, I insisted that I get the autonomy and I will be accountable, at the same time I get the incentives. For me, I believe these are the 3 important drivers of good governance. If you are not able to allow your institution to be autonomous, if you are not able to make it accountable, if you are not able to introduce incentives and penalties in case they don't perform, then of course you'll be wasting a lot of your time. How do you go about accountability? I insisted, and I had a long discussion with the president, that before I take on the job, I must know exactly what I'm going to do, and what the minister is going to do, what the board is going to do, and I must also be held accountable. So I got into what we call performance contracting. I drew up a performance contract. I made sure that the government committed the board, which was supervising me, and the board then entered into a performance contract binding me, and also I was binding all the managers who are belonging up to the level of the factories, the sweepers, the cleaners, all were under performance contracts. And I also insisted that, next slide. I also insisted that we must introduce an incentive framework to make sure that at least if I perform, they are able to incentivize according to how they have achieved their targets. There were 3 types of targets to put in place. The first one was called the baseline. Now, when you enter into this business, you must make sure that you align all the key performance indicators. You establish where you are at the moment. The smart target means, the baseline means that you are not allowed to make the company worse than you found it. Now, the smart target is the one that you normally budget for. Supposing I go into a company like Lagos Water, they are collecting 100 million naira per month. That's the baseline. And the smart target board sits with the ministry and says, we think we must collect now 150. That's the smart. Now, me and my staff, we need to sit down and if we work day and night, what is it we can achieve? That's the straight target. Now, in my company, if you could achieve the smart target, that's the one which the government and the ministry and the board has put down for you to achieve, you will get 50% of your salary. But if you get if you hit the speech targets, you get more than 100% of your salary. In actual fact, according to the penalties, if you ever fail to achieve the decimal target 2 consecutive times, actually 3 consecutive times, you will lose 25% of your salary and you have to resign. All in all, per year, we are paying more than $2 million only in incentives. $2 million only in incentives. And of course, for the next slide, of course, the most important again were the so-called emotional incentives. And that's why the politicians will come in. So every quarter, we will make sure that we evaluate our staff according to those who have performed very well, and we give them trophies, we give them a name and shame those who have not been performing very well, and also recognize those who have performed very well. In actual fact, the emotional incentives were even more important than the financial incentives. Next. How do you change in an institution like this? First of all, that was very important that we are positive. You must be able to break out of the limiting beliefs that yes, we cannot do. No, you can do it. Number 3, you must start now feeling different. There's no way you can solve the current problems with the same thinking that caused them. Number 6, and I think most important, you must be able to break those rules which don't make sense. Next slide. Now, this is the performance of national water. The time I entered, we were collecting only, we were serving only 47% of the entire population of Uganda. By the time I left, we are going up to 75%. And when I joined, we were only connecting 3,000 customers. But by the time I left, we had started connecting 25,000 customers per annum. And we have increased the number of connections from 50,000 to almost 300,000. And most important, the incomes. When I came, the best salary was only 21 billion in Ghana shillings. By the time I left, we had been collecting 132 billion, almost 6 times. And you can see the operating profits. The company was in a loss when I came in and and by the time I left, was collecting that as a profit that 1 billion, which was about $10 billion. Now, I think the essence of running a business and government is the succession. Now, my successor, who took after me, they have really done so well that for them now, in 10 years, I've been away, they have increased the government from 75 to 84. They now connect 60,000 connections every year. They have actually moved the total number of connections from 50,000 where I called them to now 700,000 connections. And you can see they have increased the number of towns they are serving from 6 to 258. In actual fact now, they are covering the entire city. And the most important is the profit, the operating profit. They are able now to post a profit of 103 billion. In dollar terms, that's about $30 million per annum. So water makes money. There's a lot of business you can do if you run your business properly. The next slide. I think in conclusion, well, I think we're doing this another presentation, but no problem. In conclusion, in governance, most important, there must be autonomy, there must be accountability, there must be the rule of law, and there must be efficiency. Next, last one. All what I've said, I put it together in a book, making public tender by work. And I think you allowed me to give a copy to the governor, and I also have a copy for the governor and the chief of staff. And everything I did in the 13 years I was national actually here. And if you want to improve your business, please buy a copy and run your business. Thank you so much.
Water is a very important and essential resource for humanity. And that is why a lot of people have said water is life. This is very important for us in Lagos, because we are a city, a state that is surrounded by water. So our livelihood, our health recreation, even economic activity, depends largely on water in this state. So that phrase, life, water is life, actually holds true for us in Lagos. The challenge for us also is to make sure that our resources were kept sustainably, and of course we can get people drinkable water, and of course we can do fantastic sanitation. So this conference carries a very great significance to the positive growth and development of our state. It is therefore with great pleasure that I welcome all of you, all our partners, all our stakeholders, and like the Permanent Secretary, Federal Minister of Water Resources said, the water family. Welcome all of you to this year's edition of Lagos International Water Conference that is titled Attaining Sanitation and Hygiene for All in Lagos State, a mega city through regulation and innovation. It is very important to follow up to all our previous endeavors and successes in the water sector of the state. Since the inception of the Liwac conference in the year 2020, we have sought to reposition water governance and regulatory dispensation in the state to improve water security and investment opportunity. Our commitment is in line with this administration goal of improving access to clean water and sanitation. The mega city status of Lagos State, meaning that we are a huge population, and for those of us who might not be aware, we only occupy less than 4% of the in terms of land size of Nigeria, but we house about 11% of the population of the country. So it's the density is tough, and therefore, because of the growing population and the urgent need to promote facility that will allow for water to actually be available for all of us, we must make sure that that sector is guaranteed in terms of sustainability and viability. The economic and commercial activity that abounds in Lagos, along with its major link to international businesses and the outside world, has made Lagos a beacon of hope and prosperity that attracts a constant influx of people, which translates to a constant growth in population. It is said that 98 people enter Lagos every minute, and only a third of those will go back. So the rest stays. This means that our government must work meticulously to administer the resources and facility needed by this huge population to be productive, most especially in the area of clean water and of course sanitation. Based on estimates and trends, our state will be populated by a huge number of 40 million people by 2050. It is therefore crucial that we get in front of this issue and come up with sustainable strategies that will provide safe water and good sanitation and ensure better hygiene for the people of our state. Our administration is committed to providing easy access to safe water and hygiene, of course, not just because it is expected of us, but because we know that it is fundamental to human survival. And as a matter of fact, it's a right, and it falls within our welfare policy for the state. One of the index that is used and are judged for livability of any city. And as such, it is also one of the targets of the Sustainable Development Goal, I think target 6, which in turn announce our utmost readiness for local and international investment. Our commitment to improving access to clean water and sanitation is hinged on 4 initiatives, which include provision of public toilets and bathrooms to reduce the number of public defecation in each local government or local development council of our state, construction of community wastewater treatments, development an integrated wastewater management system, expanding and protecting water sources to improve the city water supply. You will, however, agree with me that these initiatives and several others aim at attaining a desirable level of sanitation and hygiene in our city will only be achieved if there is a supported regulatory framework that promotes efficiency through innovation driven by technology. A well-designed regulatory framework that encourages private sector participation and protects the interests of all stakeholders through regulation that set clear standards, define roles, and establish responsibilities. I'm excited to learn that the various speakers at this conference, of course, as we have seen, are experts in their areas, and they are coming here with proper experience that we can all leech on. I want to commend all our keynote speakers, Mr. Wood, co-founder and chief operating officer of Salvation in Kenya. Well, you know the population of Kenya? Tiny. Okay. So we are not doing business yet in Africa until we come to the So, Mr. Mekuria Asefa is the head of Water and Sanitation African Development Bank, Dr. William Howe, Executive Director of Global Water Leaders Group, and of course, Frederica Brenner, Water and Sanitation Regulatory Authority Generalis in Argentina, and of course, Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Water Resources. Your robust experience and depth of knowledge that you have shared in your presentation have no doubt set the tone and laid the foundation for this conference, which other speakers and discussants can build upon. It is our hope that we will collate all this and come up with actionable items that the state can actually work on. Let us also commend the Executive Secretary of Lagos State Water Regulatory Commission, Mrs. Funke Adepoju, and her team for their hard work, dedication, and consistency in ensuring the successful organization of this conference in 2020. And I can tell you that after each of the conference, she always comes up with actionable items. So I'm sure this one will not be different. While we all look forward for the outcome of the conference, I want to once again welcome all of us, all the local, international visitors to our state, of aquatic splendor, and I wish you very fruitful celebration.
Well, that was a quite informative and revealing presentations by some international key speakers, and of course the Executive Secretary of the Lagos State Water Regulatory Commission and the Deputy Governor representing Mr. Governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu. I'm sure you find it quite interesting and informative. The City of Lagos TV show, the voice of Lagos on television. Thanks for watching.
Lagos.